Man, this might look like just another QB battle in May, but if we're being real, this could end up setting the entire direction of the Browns' season before preseason even truly kicks off. Because it's not just about who looks better in practice, it's about what this team wants to be in 2026. Let's break it down. Right now, based on what's come out and what the coaching staff has kind of let slip between the lines, Deshaun Watson is ahead. Nothing official, no big announcement, but in reality, if there was a game tomorrow, he'd be QB1. And here's where it gets interesting. The Browns made it a point to say the decision is going to be purely performance-based. No, let's develop Shedeur. No, let's think about next year's draft. None of that future talk. That's a loud message, maybe louder than it seems. Because if you've been riding with this team for a while, you know Cleveland's been stuck in this weird loop, trying to compete now, while also rebuilding at the same time. And that usually blows up. But now, it feels like the organization picked a lane. They're basically saying, we're trying to win right now, even if that means rolling the dice on Watson again. Now let's add some context. Watson was elite, no debate there. But since he got to Cleveland, he hasn't been able to show that level consistently. Injuries, rust, scheme, confidence, pick your reason. Bottom line, Texans' Watson hasn't shown up in a Browns uniform yet. Then you've got Shedeur Sanders. Total opposite profile, high upside, big hype, sharp reads, but zero real NFL reps. And Dylan Gabriel's lurking in the background. But honestly, right now, he feels more like insurance than a legit threat for the starting job. So, on paper, it's simple. A vet who has to prove he's still that dude. A rookie with upside but no mileage. And a third guy filling out the room. But in reality, it's not that clean. Because what Todd Monken said matters a lot here. When he says outside noise doesn't matter, that performance is everything. That's not just coach speak, that's culture setting. And Monken may be new in this role, but he's not new to the game. He's seen this movie before. He knows what happens when the locker room starts listening to the noise instead of what's happening on the field. Things fall apart, so he's shutting that down early. But at the same time, that puts a ton of pressure on Watson. Because now there's no safety net. No more, they're developing Shedeur. No more, this is about the future. If Watson's ahead, he's got to prove it on the field. Period. Now let's get into the real football side. What does this change? First, offensive identity. If Watson is truly the starter, the offense leans more aggressive, more post-snap reads, more vertical shots at times. If Shedeur takes over, you're probably looking at something more controlled, timing-based, quicker progressions. Two very different styles, and that affects everybody. O-line, receivers, running backs, even how the defense ends up playing based on tempo. This isn't just swapping QBs. It's almost changing the whole offensive personality. Second, the locker room. This is where it gets tricky. Watson carries baggage, on and off the field. That's always going to be there. If he plays well, people move past it. If he struggles, it gets loud. We've seen that before. Now imagine that with a charismatic rookie like Shedeur sitting on the bench. That internal pressure, it builds fast, real fast. Third, media noise. Shedeur's brother reacting on social media already shows how quickly this thing can spill outside the building. And that might seem small, but it's not. Narrative shapes perception. Perception creates pressure, and pressure drives decisions in the NFL. Now, my straight-up take. I get what the Browns are doing. From a competitive standpoint, starting Watson makes sense. You paid him, you invested in him, and in theory, he gives you the highest ceiling right now. But that only works if he actually plays at a high level. If it's the same inconsistent Watson we've seen, you're just delaying the inevitable. And worse, you might be wasting valuable development time for Shedeur. So to me, the biggest risk isn't starting Watson. It's waiting too long to pivot if it goes south. Let's talk scenarios. Best case, Watson balls out, offense clicks, Browns are legit in the AFC, and Shedeur develops without pressure. That's the dream in Cleveland. Worst case, Watson struggles early, team gets shaky, fans get loud, locker rooms start splitting, and by the time you switch to Shedeur, the season's already slipping. Happens more often than people think. Most likely, somewhere in between. Watson starts, has ups and downs. and the QB debate just keeps getting louder as the season rolls on. One more thing people aren't talking about enough: timing. Monken made it clear he wants to decide sooner rather than later, but they don't have enough sample size yet. That's huge, because the earlier you lock in QB1, the more time the team has to build real chemistry. If this drags out too long, you're heading into the season without clarity, and that almost never ends well. So bottom line, Watson is QB1 for now. Coaching staff wants immediate performance. Shedeur is a real shadow behind him, and Monken is trying to control the environment before it turns into chaos. This isn't just a QB battle, dog. This is a franchise identity test. So let me ask you straight. If you were calling the shots, are you rolling with Watson to start the season? Or are you handing Shedeur the keys and starting a new era right now? Because depending on that call, this could be the start of something real in Cleveland, or just another chapter in the same old Browns roller coaster.